Hi, and welcome to the Black Starters Podcast, featuring stories of Black business owners, leaders, and artists walking through their journey from the start through obstacles and onward to success. Powered by BlackStarters.com. And now, here's your host, Lauren Marie.
Hey guys, so before we get into today's interview, I have to tell you a quick story. So I've been working on this project for the last 2 months, and I was supposed to launch about a month ago, to be real honest, but I have been putting it off because every time I think about it, a bit of anxiety just creeps up in me. And so I'm finally here, and I'm really excited about it, but I'm also really nervous. So I ask that you have mercy on me and that you just provide any feedback that you can, because my goal is absolutely to get better at this and to provide more value to you, the listener, and to just engage more in this community. So my guest today is actually Chrishon Lampley of Love Cork Screw. She has a really amazing story, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So let's jump right in. Chrishon, tell me, when you see people out and about and they ask you, so what do you do for work? What do you tell them?
I am a winemaker. I usually say vintner, but vintner is a word that's not extremely known within people that are outside of the wine industry. So I am the maker of wine. The first thing people say is, do you own a vineyard? I do not own a vineyard. I'm a private label. So what that means is I source my wines from different vineyards. So what you have in the bottle, that's Love Cork Screw, is my creation. So I am the maker of wine.
Very nice. Okay, and what was your very first job, and what led you to the industry that you're in right now?
My very first job, and for the millennials out there and younger, you may not know this store, but it was called Venture. It's very much like a Target, I would say, nowadays. And I was in the jewelry department because I was able to finesse my way into the jewelry department because I didn't want to lift big boxes and all that stuff. So, I made up the story that my family works, as jewelers, just so I could be in that department. And it was so funny because even at 16, I outsold everyone within that department that was twice my age. And at that point, I knew that I was good with people. Mm-hmm. I knew I was good in sales, and it took off from there. So I kind of had the knack for it from day one from my first job. So.
Okay, so then how did you move into wine and becoming a connoisseur?
Wine was interesting. I actually went from owning a bar. I owned an art gallery and bar in the South Loop area in Chicago. And I wrote the wine list, and it won Chicago's Best as one of the top wine lists that year in 2010. And at that point, I knew I was kind of good with wine, right? If it won a contest of the best wine list. So between that, working in also the distribution side, so I used to sell as well for distributors. So in working in two ends, I said to myself, I want to own my own. I'm sick of working for people, and it's time for me to have something of mine. And people said I was crazy. They said, there's no way that you can do this. Next thing you know, I end up actually losing the art gallery to a bad flood. So we lost that, and I went dark for a while, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I said, you know what? What if I made my own wine?
Let's go back for a minute. I actually like to hear more about the story. So, of course, not just for me, but also for those who will be listening who aren't familiar with that. Walk us through how it went, what you felt at the time, what the next steps were for you immediately after the situation.
Definitely a comeback kid. I'm definitely a comeback kid. It goes from losing everything. A business partner and myself, we owned the art gallery. Within 3 years, I walk into the art gallery on Christmas Day. Something just told me to do that. I was heading to my family's house, and I said, let me just stop by the gallery just to see it. Walked in, and next thing you know, I'm walking through 2 inches of sewer water. So imagine what's in sewer water. And come to find out, the owners from above us, because we were a storefront, they flushed non-biodegradable baby wipes down the toilet that built up into our storefront. Well, all of our insurance, we had $2 million worth of Dram Shop insurance. It didn't cover baby wipes. So we closed. We then started kind of fighting within each other. It was like a bad divorce. And then I went really dark, and I wasn't sure what to do. And I said, you know what? For some reason, I'm still waking up. My heart's still beating. So I have a purpose. And that was the progression from owning that gallery and saying to myself, we worked so hard to lose everything, but there was still a reason and a purpose why I learned the lessons and why I owned this establishment and why I owned it with a business partner at the time. And it taught me a lot. So leads me to where I am now.
You said that you went into this like dark place. Talk a little bit about that, because I think for a lot of people, when they experience some kind of obstacle, they say, oh, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be, or I wasn't supposed to do this.
And it's hard. And imagine that happening, but actually you put all of your money. My property was attached to it through a small business loan. Everything was attached to this business. And when you start your own business, especially a storefront, and especially a brick and mortar, it's your life is there. You live there. I was there more than I am in my home. You know, those keys were more important to my keys to my home. So to go so far and so many years to progress to even open the doors, to have them close, I was just in this place of, what the heck just happened? Yeah. Like, what am I supposed to do? Are you kidding me? Now, mind you, I was still working a full-time job at the time. But that was my way out. That was my baby. That's what I was looking for. I'm like, okay, great. And to enjoy this with a business partner, even better, right? So I was in this place of, I don't understand. I don't want to retire working, for somebody else. I don't know what's going on. And so when I mean dark, it goes from a place of seeing people all the time at my art gallery, people that I've met, because I didn't grow up in the city of Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs. So to meet so many awesome people and not be able to connect with them anymore, I just would come home and put the covers over me. So it was very, very hard for me.
And now, here's a quick word from our supporters.
Hi, my name is Dave Henningham with Clarence Henningham. What we do really well is we create great accessories. Check out our website, www.clarencehenningham.com. You will be satisfied. Thank you for your time.
Now, let's get back to the show.
So you said you went into this really dark place. Can you talk about what the process was like for you coming out of that and then starting this new business?
It was getting out of that dark place. Like I said, I realized, my heart's beating. And so that means I'm still alive. So thus I have to live, right? So I said to myself, let me get up. Let me start going out. People kept asking me about my wine picks. And people always said, Chrishon, you always know the coolest restaurants. You always know the coolest places to go. So I said, you know what? I'm sick of everybody blowing up my phone, because remember, I'm in this dark place, right? I'm in this leave me alone. That I said, I'm going to start writing a blog. Now, I'm an awful writer. But I said, let me start writing this blog. And, what am I going to call the blog? I'm like, Love Cork Screw. So the love section was different fun things that would happen within my gallery, just being single women in the gallery. And then the cork section would be my varietal picks, my restaurant picks. And the screw section would be a wild card of different pop culture things that were happening. And the blog blew up, right? So I'm like, okay, if the blog blows up and I'm an awful writer, I'm better on a radio. My voice. People always said you always have this soothing voice or this radio voice, or you should do commercial, voiceovers and things. So I said, well, what if I did it in the form of a radio show? So I did it in the form of a radio show. I'm like, what am I going to call it? Oh, yeah, duh. Love Cork Screw. So the radio show ended up having over 4,000 listeners. I said, all right, this is fun. This is my escape. Remember that dark place I was in? That was my way of my release. I could talk about love and relationships. I could talk about wine. I could talk about restaurants and fun things happening. And I said to myself, okay, so now that I've had that area of I'm feeling better about myself and I'm in a better place, it's time to turn it into something that's tangible. Love Cork Screw the wine.
Very nice. Yeah, so it seems like people already considered you to be an influencer in this space, and they really looked to you and trusted your opinions and your recommendations. So
I lucked out. Yeah, I had a great following from the gallery, and it continued on to Love Cork Screw. Absolutely.
So you said, or maybe I read this in the article, I'm not sure, you ran into financial issues that just come along with losing an entire business in a flood. So how, in light of trying to finance any kind of a business, how did you go about pursuing the route the second time around?
Well, I lost everything. And when I say I lost everything, my property I had to give up. I used to also own investment property. Mm-hmm. So I had to give that up to the bank. And I had to file bankruptcy. So I was in the middle of just nothing. I was in this rut, not sure when a server was going to come kick me out of my home. And I said, you know what? I got to get up. I got to get back up. And some of the great people that I met from owning the gallery, some end up being lawyers. And they said, you know what, Chrishon, we're not going to let you fall. We're not. And one in particular, he's my angel, and he saved me. He made sure that my finances were taken care of, in all the logistics and legal aspects. And then I said, I'm going to do it different. For me, it didn't work as far as a small business loan is concerned. It works for some. Didn't work for me. I decided to go more the private route. So I'm definitely headed to that, into that sector, and it worked. And it was from people, again, seeing my journey, seeing that I'm a great businesswoman in a sense of I don't give up and don't stop, and seeing my sales skills. And I definitely, I worked hard for it. Don't get me wrong. So it's this much luck, but that much hard work that I did. So so Love Cork Screw was born.
So what would you say to aspiring business owners and just aspiring leaders? So not even just people who are looking to do their own thing, but people who are maybe within other companies who are just trying to get to a better place or move up their ranks or be the best in their field?
Do more. Always do more. I would say, as we know, as African American women, we always have to be above anything else. Being just okay and being standard or just making is never enough. And if you accept that, you will be great in anything you do. Anything you do. Always do more. When it came to grades in school and okay, if you just do this amount, if you just read this chapter, you'll pass. I was never that person. I was one who was going to do it from, even though I hated the book. I said, no, I got to keep going. When I ran track, when people would stop right after the rope, I'd still keep going just to make sure I made it past that rope. So it's those extra things that you always know that if you push yourself and you keep going and you do a little bit more, man, it will pay off. It will pay off.
Good deal. And I think that's a great note to end on. So thank you so much, Chrishon, for joining us and for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And I think that like I have been, I think many people will be inspired by your story. So be sure to check her out. Again, Love Cork Screw across all of the social media platforms. And also go check out the show links for this episode at blackstarters.com. There you'll also find resources for growing your business. And also I'd like to give a quick shout out to Aaron Jones in Little Rock, Arkansas, a good friend of mine and my very first supporter. I really love doing this. I love doing this, but it really is very time intensive. So I appreciate any and all support. And I'll be doing shout outs to all who join. If you'd like to support this work, go to blackstarters.com and click on the orange button that says become a patron. And that is actually all for this episode. Give me a 5-star review and any feedback that you have, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Black Starters Podcast. For more exclusive content, don't forget to log on to blackstarters.com. There you can find all our social media sites. And if you like this episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review, comment, and share.